1852, a composer named John Hopkins Jr. wrote a carol called We Three Kings of Orient Are. And what it basically did was to describe the journey of the three kings to go to the Christ child to take the gifts. And I wanted to do a Mannheim version of this and use some instruments actually of the period, like the dulcimer and some of those things that you might have imagined hearing back in the ancient times when the three kings were riding on the camels. God rest you merry gentlemen actually is an interesting phrase. In the Old English times it was actually God rest ye merry gentlemen. It was referring to giving a phrase to the gentleman, not actually God rest ye merry gentlemen, God rest ye merry, which means be happy gentlemen. So I decided to do a version of the old Christmas carol, God Rest You Merry Gentlemen, in a rocked out Mannheim version that would kind of bring drums and some of the other instruments of Mannheim to bear down on the tune. And of course, I had to have a big French horn call in the middle of the tune in which you basically are riding on horseback and going through the woods, and that the image I was trying to conjure up was a lot of action on God Rest Ye Merry Gentlemen. Veni, Veni, O come, Emmanuel, is what it translates out to. You know, I thought it would be really cool when I got my friend John Rutter involved with the Cambridge Singers to sing this as, of all things, a Gregorian chant. I came up with this fantastic concept of doing a Gregorian chant, and then I found out it was written as a Gregorian chant. So that kind of went by the wayside, so we did it that way anyway, but it was just kind of a surprise because I thought I was being really clever when in fact it's the way it really was. Greensleeves is one of my most favorite songs. It feels like so familiar to me that I almost feel like I wrote it back in the early days whenever this song came about. Greensleeves actually is a minstrel song from Old England and was probably played with lute, and then of course the verses were very, very romantic. I decided to have a vocal. This is the first vocal on Mannheim in ages, and maybe ever, to have a solo vocal. The vocalist singing is my young daughter, Elise. She sang this at 14 years old. She is now 15. And she performed this in many venues, including in Mexico, for the vice president of Televisa. We're very proud of Elise's performance on Greensleeves.
The vows you broken like my heart. Oh, why did you so enrapture me?
Carol of the Bells was one of the most voted for carols for me to do. As many of you know, I've asked our fans over the years to give me input as to what they would like to hear. Well, Carol of the Bells, when it came to that album, turned out to be the number one pick. Well, imagine this. Here's the melody. It's exhausting. You know, so try to do an arrangement of Carol of the Bells. How do you do that without turning into total monotony? So what I did was take a bunch of bells and made a bunch of sounds with the bells and played them against 2 against 3, which creates the rhythm, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, and then had that playing as the background, and then came up with a crazy rocked out version of it with lots of drums and synthesizers and big boom booms. Carol of the Bells. Christmas, of course, is one of my favorite times of the year, as with many of our families that listen to the music. And Traditions of Christmas was a Christmas carol that I wanted to write as an original carol. And there actually are a set of words that go with it. There isn't a vocal version. The words that I wrote that are in the liner notes basically tell what all the traditions are. Holly and the ivy, mistletoe and kisses, grandma telling stories on this silent night. I tried to work in a number of the various Christmas carols into this song, and it's meant to just be a beautiful, soft, almost a lullaby-ish type song. Traditions of Christmas. On the first Christmas album, I ended the album with a cut, Silent Night, which became an enormous favorite of everyone. When I got to the next album, I sort of did it in the same way. I started off with a cut similar to Deck the Halls, and then I needed to end with something like Silent Night. Well, I came up with a version of Oh Holy Night that starts very similarly, and it develops and develops till it becomes an enormous crescendo in the middle of the song, and that's when all of the heart-rending feeling comes out in the tune. Oh Holy Night. Jeremiah was a bull.
Okay guys, here we go. We got some good Christmas music now.